Hello friends, welcome to the virtual session on demand planning. I'm joined by industry expert, you can say the thought leaders from industries in India and abroad. Reshaping, could you just raise a hand around so the people can see you? Reshaping is there very much. He has worked in most of the companies around. He'll be covering the service sector. Then we have Dr. Vivek Sharma. He comes from the US. He has done, after his MIT PhD, he has been working with supply chain all the time and production as well. So he'll be covering on semiconductors, electronic industries, so whatever sector he's involved around. Then we have Arun. You want to raise your hand around? Arun has worked with a wide range of activities around, whether you talk of chemical, whether you talk of pharma, and he has been in through and through in demand planning, and he's an expert on S&OP. So he'll be covering up when the session come on his side. But there's one more panelist who's coming from the auto sector. He'll be joining us. I think he's delayed some way. So soon we hope he may join us here. Okay, guys, with this, let me come back to the subject of demand planning. Demand planning is one of the critical, if I talk around, is a part of the supply chain. If I go back in the good old days, 30 years back, 40 years back, people will just get the sales plan and then start converting into production. And the concept was more of a push type in those days. Sales plan, people say, guys, because the CEO wants a growth of 10%, sales plan is plus 10%, and then accordingly I do my production in a push way. If I'm able to sell, great. If I'm not able to sell, I discount it and then try to sell it. And the shelf life was longer in those days. When I go back 30 years, 20 years back, but if you look in the last 10 years, particularly the consumer items, electronic item, the life is 6 months, 8 months. After every 6 months, new model comes in. Think of car industry. I've come from that age group around when car will never change, same ambassador car for 20 years. Now today the car model changes every year. So naturally you're not going to make in a push system, it has to be in a pull system. So if I look around, demand planning has picked up only in the last 10, 12 years around. Really, otherwise it was a confused areas around. People still have misunderstanding about the demand planning. Now, let me get back to the starting of this around. So I'll try to cover what we have kept agenda today. I'll try to provide an overview of demand planning. So in the demand planning, what I plan to cover up is explain you what exactly is the term demand itself. I know many of you know it, but I can see since I go as a consultant, I go as a trainer to many companies around, they understand the word demand, but as a whole clarity is not there around. What is demand planning? What is S&OP around? Now we have called another terms around collaborative process planning around. So we have got many terms around. What exactly these terms are there around? What is the importance of this around? And what COVID-19 has done for us this. So this is what we are looking at. Obviously, COVID-19 has done a lot of disruptions. Production was, when it was a lockdown period, everything was coming to a standstill. But one good thing came with the standstill was we noticed ourselves. I know many people have sent the question on, oh, we are starting in a full swing, but we don't have parts, we don't have this. I can fully understand and appreciate that part around. But to a lot extent, this is happening, and this is exposing our strength and weakness also. So COVID-19, the way I look around, whether it is in my activities around or the companies whom I work with, it is exposing our strength and the gaps. So it is trying to say challenges, you may call it, or you may say it is creating a new opportunities for us. So the way of looking at it. So let me start what exactly I plan to do up today. So my interest would be, I will be covering up in half an hour. My discussion issues would be understanding the whole disruption in the field of demand planning. After I have done this, I'll put up some survey questions. That survey question is to understand whether you really understood what I'm saying around. So there are only 10 poll questions. So I expect by 4:40 I'll finish it up. Then we'll be switching over to panel discussions. Now the panel discussion, we have 4 panelists from different sectors. while the question would be same. So what we are going to talk about with them is the challenges part. What are the challenges in their sectors around? What are the gaps around? As I said to you, we have been exposed now. We know what are the strengths and gaps. In the past, we never worried about, although there was the one supplier in the whole world, but the supply was coming around. But now we've been exposed, guys, it's too tough to survive with one supplier. We need more choices. So they will be discussing about the challenges part, or you may call opportunity part for some people. And then they will also talk about the gaps, what they have in their own sector, what they are seeing. And what are the new tools which are coming up, which can help the company to improve the demand planning. Because the demand planning, what we used to do 4 years back, 5 years back, is not the same. It's a new type. It's a new normal. So in the new normal situations, how the demand planning is done around. Because the customer has changed. The customer is not same. Even if I look around myself, many people 4 years back, 3 years back, when we were trying to do the digitization part, they were saying, oh, India can't do this. Now I can see many of the people buying online, their mindsets have changed, their behavior has changed. So in one way, it is switching us to the digital world. So they will talk about their own tools, what they're trying to bring up. And the next they will talk around what is the future for the world around. In their sector, what they see, because they are on the ground level. So they'll be coming up on that. So and then later on, once they finish it up, we'll have the Q&A session. That's what we have kept for the next 2 hours around. So what I'm planning to cover up to start with is overview, understanding the demand planning concepts around, challenges. I know I will not go into more detail on that because my colleagues will cover from their sectors around. The key insights of India, which is very important around. We are not talking of the word per se, we are talking of India as well. Digitizing demand planning. The word digitization was in the map, I will say, roadmap of many companies, but it was a slow process. But now it has got, with COVID-19, it has been accelerated. I know some people say, we don't have funds. You can't do it. I agree with that. So there has to be phased manner. But what phased manner, what you were planning earlier 3 years back, okay, I'll do it in the next, after 3 years, 4 years. But now you have to do it fast. So we will work on the digital part. So demand planning strategy to ensure resiliency part. So the resiliency means we want to be basically shock proof. If anything happens to us, we should be able to withstand it. So looking ahead, how do I unlock the disruptions around? And the last is coping up with COVID-19 era. I'll touch some points in detail. Some I'm leaving it to my colleagues. They'll touch up from the panel session. Now coming back to the opening insight, what I see around. We did survey just 3 months back. We sent to around 200 companies. We got around 120 replies, all the big companies in India. One came, the very key point I can say, insights in India I'm talking of, need for demand planning. 75% responded, identified the lack of clarity on customer demand. Customer word itself is confused around. So lack of clarity on that part. And they feel that this is the biggest bottleneck. I had a chance to work in one Pune company as a consultant, and I could see around the error in their demand planning was to the tune of 35% to 40%. It's not a surprise to many of you, those who are in the field, it may be even more than that some cases. E-commerce boom has come up, so particularly in the retail business, consumer items, e-commerce has picked up. And that side, the demand has, on the contrary, picked up around. Now we find that the demand has also picked up in the auto sector. But the problem is now supply side. So both things are going together. The third thing which I found in the feedback we got around, smooth transition to remote working. Honestly, even somebody would have asked me even 2 years back, can we work everybody from home? I would have said, no, it's not possible until we see the person face to face. We want to control them, we want to watch them, we want to see them. But now, even in my small setup, I can see people can work more effectively when they're working from remote. So it's not a big issue around. Brishpan, who is heading the Asia division for Uber, Brishpan is working from Himachal Pradesh. So he's already sitting in the hills areas around. So it's smooth working around. The only problem is there is no distinction between day and night. It's a 24-hour job now. Anytime you can be called. Earlier when you used to go to the office, okay, I'll go to the office at 9, I'll come back after 6. Now don't trouble me. After 6 is my family time. Now there's no family time. So that's a little negative part of this around the way I look at it. And the next is the technology roadmap. Every company was using a technology roadmap. I had a chance to work with many companies saying, yes, oh, we are doing the digital transformation in procurement, digital transformation in this. The word digital transformation was really picking up in the last few years. But now I think out of them, 58% responded saying they want to shorten the roadmap. They want to do it quicker. If something was scheduled after 4 years, there's a guy we want to do by next year, 2021. So that process has really got accelerated, I would call. Now here is the demand planning. When we're talking of resilient part, it takes into wide range of factors around. Supply, sales people give you, the sales and marketing people give you their own plans. Their plans are normally the last year data plus whatever they have been got around the data, but these people go much more into detail. You look at the labor force, you look at the weather condition, you look at the geopolitical events, you look at even the software attempts around how to make it smarter. So it looks into much bigger things around. So if I say this way, then introduction part, demand planner occupy a unique position within account. These are the people who are working with everybody. 20 years back, I won't have bothered about. I would have said, okay, even S&OP was just picking up in many companies around. But now I can see in this one, they are the people who are connected with everyone. They are the heart of the whole supply chain. Even our S&OP, I know Arun is our expert on the S&OP, the demand is the beginning game of that. So if demand is the starting point, if demand is not well done, you can say more inaccuracies, more inventories, more lead time, less utilization of assets. So it can lead to many problems around. So it's the most least misunderstood around. Many people think, what is so thing about demand planning? Sales people have given me the forecast. They know the customer, they know everybody, but how far they understand the supply side. So the demand planners also look at the supply side to make it a little better on that. So this strategy needs both accurate and flexible. And let's talk about the whole demand planning concepts around. I will just go, the context is of the whole discussion is last year, the world is not like it was last year. If I talk of 2019, I won't have been talking of all this. I won't have been talking of Black Swan. I've seen tsunami's time. I've seen 2008. I was in the US that time. I've seen in 2008 when the recession happened, but they were not of the type what we are seeing now. Sitting for 4 months, 5 months. So many people have been affected. Many jobs have been affected. Lives have been also affected. So we have to think of reshaping the global supply chain. So I remember the time when I came out of the college and when doing my MBA in the US, the focus in those days in 80s was globalization, globalization, globalization. And I love to talk about globalization. And I was involved with Pratt Whitney that time in the US. I worked with United Technology also. And that's the time my interest was to shift the production from US to China. Because it's a low-cost country. But now when we look around the experience, what we have now, the model is changing. Now people are looking of regionalization, localization. So the whole mindset is changing around. Now when we are getting into that, now then the planners, the forecasters, how are they coping with limited inventories? So this Black Swan, whatever we have now, which is unpredictable, let's see how we can work on it. Understanding the demand plan, again, the very simple definition which Gartner has come up around, which to me looked very impressive. It is not a sales or a marketing forecast. I know people mix it with sales and marketing forecast. So as per the Gartner definition, who am I say they're the best team I would call around, is neither the sales and marketing forecast, neither the orders, is neither the budget also. Sometimes we think, oh, marketing finance has given us the budget. That's a demand plan. It's an iterative process. I do a demand plan, but then after 1 month or 1 week, I get new ideas around. I get some feedback, whether on political side, supplier side, customer side, I change it. Ultimately, I want to make it a more profitable mix of items. There are companies who might be having 10,000, 15,000 SKUs. Think of if I'm doing 15,000 SKUs, some SKUs are profitable, some SKUs are not profitable, and some SKU have a real pitch in the market around. So where I want to really pitch in, where I want to put my energies around, so all that factors. So you're basically balancing it with the help of constraint and demand risk around. Every demand has a risk. If I've got 10,000 SKUs, some SKUs are very volatile in terms of market. Some SKUs are stable market for me. I'm the leader in the group. So you have to do the balancing act. Your resources are limited. So that's the way I felt this is a great definition when it comes around. And if you look at this demand planning, it shows you very clearly how the variation has happened in the last 3 to 4 months. But luckily, I can say one figure which our headquarters produces every month, we call as Purchasing Management Index. I don't know whether many of you are conversant with that. And we release it every month to all the members. What does it show? If I'm spending more money, like at home, if I spend more money, mean I'm getting my salaries around. If my salary is not coming, my expense will go down. So we do from the procurement side, because procurement controls around 70 to 80% of the spend of every company. If procurement is controlling 70 to 80% of the spend, and if those companies who are spending more, that means the company business is growing. So we did last month's figures around. If I go in April, it has gone down to 10%, 12%. Anything below 50% is a recessionary mode, let me tell you, as per PMI, Purchasing Manager Index around. Anything more than 50 mean we are okay. So last month, the figure in manufacturing was close to 41, and in the case of service sector was close to 35. So looks with that, within next to 3 to 4 months, we may cross 50. So once we cross 50, mean we are coming back to the new normal around. So that's the way I look at it. But keep in mind, the whole business landscape is changing. Some sectors will grow, some sectors may go dip down. So both possibilities stands around. Now here comes the understanding of the words around demand, demand forecasting, demand management. So demand planning is a very thing around. Now for doing demand planning, I need a demand forecaster around. I think I clarified a little much more in this one. So demand forecast is data focused. I get the data with the last year sales, customers, all the data I collect around. And then based on the data, I try to predict the forecast. All of us in the college time, I'm sure in the jobs, you have been using the time series. And I remember those days time also, people used to scratch their head. They say, oh, this is the figure. Go ahead, do it. The gut feeling was there. Those gut feeling word has gone now. Nobody even listened to you if you say, my gut feeling says this. I remember the time when people were given respect. Oh, this guy has got 20 years experience. If this guy is telling gut feeling, listen it, that's all. Very qualitative statements. Now people want quantitative. I don't undermine the qualitative part, but quantitative part is there. So that part is there around. So for the demand planner, they work with sales and marketing people. They work with stakeholders also. Stakeholders could be customers. Stakeholders could be anything outside. So demand plan, once we've done the forecast, then the next thing comes for me is to take the demand forecast and translate into the map. How I'm going to do it? It's just like suppose if I'm flying as a pilot. So before I take the plane, I have to put it on the paper, which route I'm going to follow, what I'm going to do, how many hours around. So similarly in the demand plan, if I am a demand planner, I have to write down, guys, this is my demand plan and this is how it is going to be executed. So the demand management goes even further details. You could say demand plan is a part of demand management around. So it works at the macro level, it works at the micro level also. If I know this customer is very important to me, is giving me profit all the time. This product is mine. So I may have to shuffle my supply side to take care of the demand. So because there are two games now. One is supply side, one is supply means you're talking on the operation side, and one is the sales side. Sales mean demand. So this is where I feel now the term should change also. Well, I'll leave it to Arun later on to answer it, because we still call sales and operation planning. Now, sales has been converted into demand plan with the consult of them. So to me, it is a demand and supply. I know at the end of the day, we talk of demand, but demand is coming from whom? I know the source is from sales side, but then we work on it. So then we have the demand management part. So I'll leave Arun for you later on when you present it. So this is where the bigger picture comes in. We have the forecast. From forecast, which might have come to a lot extent from sales and marketing people, but then because I'm experienced and I'm seasoned guy, I do my changes in the forecast, keeping other parameters as well, develop my plan, and that plan goes to S&OP. So that's my starting point. So based on that, I make my production planning and shop floor controls. But nothing is rigid. It goes up and down. So that means the demand management people are still involved even down the line also. They are not cut off at the S&OP level. So if they want the changes are required, they still work on it. I think this is where I'd like to show you a little bit further. So now we got demand management three parts: planning, supply, and the fulfillment. So fulfillment means I'm looking at the customer level. So now I got all the three buckets together, and that's becoming my demand management. Now, if I have to clarify in a bigger way, this is supply chain planning. In supply chain planning, you got many plans. You got inventory planning, you got other plan, distribution planning, you got logistic planning, you got every plans around. But all the plans basically depends on demand plan. So the key driver I would call is a demand plan and forecasting if you want to call, but in short, let's call it demand plan. So the demand plan is the starting point, and then I think based on that, all the other plans are made. If demand plan changes, inventory plan changes. So when the demand plan is made, they also look at the inventory part. So I think that goes together around. Second thing comes when we talk of demand management. So the demand management, I'm looking at the customer level. I'm looking at the micro level and the macro level. So that means I'm looking at the fulfillment also. It is not just a plan on a paper, I've given a beautiful plan, but I'm also keeping an eye on fulfillment. So keeping in mind the bigger picture then becomes the demand management. So this is where I thought as a demand management, I'm also looking at the purchasing part, this part. So to me, it's becoming the driver. It's not the enabler only. So far the role was very negligible, then they became enabler. I would say in the time to come, they'll be the driver also. Now coming back as a carrier point, this I thought before I go further, let me talk to this. This was around, I think when I was leaving US in 2010, demand planning was not a very popular carrier. Even still it is picking up. If I talk of Fortune 500 companies, yes, retail people, they have this demand planner. Other companies were not much into this. So when I look around, one guy asked us, Krishan, I'm getting something job. It was very 2009 or 2010. He asked me, honestly, my knowledge was very limited. When I worked in 80s and 90s, we didn't have a demand planner. Let me be honest with you. So when this guy came up around, he asked me, Krishan, now you have been in this business for long. What do you think? Is it a wonderful carrier? I said yes. Now forecasting, demand planning, predictive analytics, because they were picking up predictive analytics. Since I had a chance to work on EDI standards, so predictive analytics, S&OP, all these are unique pen of this. Then I thought people who are very well qualified, this is a great carrier. So now forecast analysts and demand planners are true growth driver within a company. So I would say the time has come. Some people call it a boon or worst thing. If demand planner does a wonderful job, accuracy improves, everybody pats. Sometimes it becomes thankless also, some cases. But you're very close to the board. You're very close to the CEO. So in short, it's a wonderful career. Those who are wonderfully having a complete knowledge of end-to-end. They understand supply side, they understand the sourcing side, they understand the manufacturing side, and they know how to keep a good relation with salespeople. I think to me, I said to him that time, yes. So it's a wonderful career. You are getting a chance close to the board. I have seen those days procurement being a back office. Brishban, you might have seen also same thing. Many of my people who are participants who come from procurement background, their office also used to be the worst office. The guy, you are only getting suppliers, you sit on the ground floor. Marketing people will get on the top cushy office around. So the profile of procurement was just like support function. You guys are only to spend money, nothing more than that. Ensuring compliance. But now with the demand planner, who has a wonderful, good background on this, I think they're very close to the boardroom, but there's a risk also there. If they don't do a good job, because you are exposed, you're not a hidden person. So it's a wonderful career for people who want to grow fast, but they need proper skills around. One of the top skills is business acumen. So you need a good business acumen, understand the mathematics, the finance part around. So guys, coming back to the next demand part, I think I can skip these few things around. So the whole supply chain is becoming now demand driven. I know I'm not in the demand personally, but had I been a very young guy 30 years back, 30 years, I would have gone into this career. Because they're all carrier related together, S&OP, demand driving, demand planning, they're all connected. So today, the whole game is starting with demand plan. And I remember the time 30 years back, every game was starting with sales and marketing forecast. Now I get their forecast, I massage it, come with a beautiful plan, and I become the driver for the whole chain. So this is the way demand driving is going around. Coming back to the traditional part, obviously we were having the long lead times, we were using spreadsheet. I would say still 95% companies are using spreadsheet. India even maybe more percentage. The software on the demand planning side, very few companies are still using it. So it's a very fragmented system, cannot respond quickly. I can understand around because we don't have many big companies in India who are doing export worldwide. I think Vivek has worked with Apple, where they were buying for iPhone parts coming from 40 countries, 200 suppliers, worldwide distributors. So naturally, the data is so big, you can't do with spreadsheets. So I'm sure now Indian companies are trying to become the supply chain leaders. So time will come that we will have to change this mode also around. So this is where we used to have purely silo mentality. I do my finance budget. I come in the morning in my office. I do my budget. Bye-bye. Sales people are doing their own. Marketing people are coming with their own new products around. Inventory planning guys doing their own. Everybody is there, but nobody was connected together. But now once we come to the E to E, end to end, we want connected. We don't want silos approach around. That's the way we look at it. And if this is the way we want, accuracy was also poor. So if we look at this shift in consumer behavior now, and which has happened because of COVID-19, I would say, to a lot extent. So our purchasing channels have changed. If you would have asked me 5-10 years back, I was never buying online. But now, even at my age, I'm also tempted to buy online. So my style of working has changed. Changing the purchasing panels and more screen time and fewer ads. Economic strains on the consumer, certainly because jobs are less, salaries are being cut many places around. There's the economic strain also, till we really cover up back. So I think this is changing the consumer behavior as well. Consumer mindset also. Who are against digitization, now they feel it's not bad, we are more transparent. So if you look at the consumer landscape, we can see the traditional supply chain challenges, very high working capitals, If I go back to those days of ambassador car, vertical integrations, everything was made in-house. Procurement was very negligible. Everything was done in-house because all vertically integrated. And now the model which has come up in the last 10 years is all basically becoming ecosystem. Ecosystem of supply, ecosystem of distributors. I know one auto company in Gurgaon, very big name. They had their own distributors within their own 200 people working on it. Then once the MD said, is it our job to take care of distribution? Our job is to make good cars. They outsourced it. Came with 3PL, came with 4PL. So the whole ecosystem has changed around. So the working capital has gone down in that sense. So the planning challenges are quite important. So this one I want to spend a little more time. If I go back, no forecasting. If I see of India's 70s, 80s, 90s, because I have spent all of those years, forecasting was, I was with Tata's in those days in Mumbai. We knew very well, okay, last year we sold 1 million refrigerators, this year we'll sell 1 million plus 15%. Because no competitor was there. It was only Kelvinator and Voltas and Elmet. So it was very clear, simple mathematics, I could do it. So now when I look back after 40 years, something around, life was easy those days in terms of marketing. So then we came to some forecastings around. I know we have studied in college those days, but I never used it. But now I can see what we studied in the business school now is being used around. Statistical forecasting. Then came the demand planning around. Then we became little smarter now with the tie and this. Demand modeling came around. So now we say, guys, we have to model it now. If this happens, what will happen? If this happens, what if will come up around? So the what if became very popular word in this. And now with the demand modeling, the next thing is coming is the machine learning. And then we want to get into the control towers where all inputs are coming from all the stakeholders, from customers. If one stakeholder misses me, sorry guys, my company has been acquired by someone, I won't be able to place order. End of it. That information, the moment it comes, my artificial intelligence can do something. So this is the way the whole evolution has happened around. I know we are still in the mid-between demand planning stage. I think demand modeling and machine learning is picking up. Maybe I think Dr. Vivek can tell us about from Apple later on, whether they are really gone into this and how they are managing, because their volume is much bigger. Demand planning, again, the advantage, the way we look around is accuracy, accuracy, accuracy. You think of two scenarios. I have an accuracy error of 60%. My accuracy is only of 8 or 9%. 60 versus 8%, I cut down the inventory level. I cut down the work in progress. So I save money. So I have to speak the language of the finance people. Then I'm more like a CFO. I'm able to cut the costs down. And bottom line also improves. So it is bottom line and the top line, both are improving around. The new thing has come up is the network. I know in the past it was all inside out, now it is outside in. So the company which I went around for the consulting for the in Pune, the S&OP was all inside out. Only inside people were talking together. And they were making the whole plan based on inside out. But now the people are saying, guys, inside out is only limited knowledge. Outside is my stakeholders. Outside is my customers. Ultimately, it's a customer-driven economy now. So their input should also come on a regular basis. They should be part of the chain. Now the question comes, where do the tool around? Will ERP allows you? ERP is a wonderful software, but ERP has a limitation to allow my stakeholders to be connected. So I need a demand planning platform. I need a control towers where I can connect everybody. So, but then comes another risk around. If I'm connected with everybody, that means we are becoming totally digital. my data can be taken out, can be sold to someone. So then comes the question of blockchain. So I think it becomes a bigger game around, so we'll discuss. So the word is coming now, demand shaping also. So when we are getting into digital, S&OP was okay within the office, we connect together. Now it's a collaborative approach. My finance has said yes, my sales have said yes, my production have said yes. So we all swim together, we die together. But now the word is different. But whom to blame? You can't blame anybody because everybody has signed. It's good to have the knowledge of everybody, but now I think it's coming outside in also. The next question which is coming up is demand shaping. Now the demand shaping is the one where demand planner can play a key role. Can I shape the demand? If my marketing people are coming with a discount, if my margin is big in particular SKU, can I send my marketing people, why don't you cut down the price? And in the process, I'm demand shaping it. So demand sensing the demand, shaping the demand. So this is becoming the new, I would say the word around mantras around. So the old system was all about Excel. I know majority of us are still with Excel and ERP system. ERP will remain till we are doing inside out. But if you're doing with outside in, I know I'm very happy that Shashank has also joined now from auto sector, from Mahindra's. So now we're talking of how do we get the outside in information around. Now coming back to the demand planning methods around. So make to stock, very old methods before Dell came into the world. So they used to make it and sell. Nobody was questioning marketing people ever. They'll say, guys, we will sell 2 million printer. And printers were made. Then we'll sell half of them will go in discount price. But then the Dell came with a pull system, customer-driven approach. It gave a big bet to HP also. Then make to order DP. So I think the demand planning is picking up much more in those companies which are doing make to order, or they have a blend of both also. Time series forecasting is still used. I'm not saying it is out. It's still relevant. Demand shaping is there around. I think when it comes to demand shaping, Shashank can answer later on how they are shaping the demands around. I know their auto sector is picking up. So how can they help us in shape the demand? And sensing part. So sensing is also important around what type of, what is going to be there around. Like, a few days back, Shashank was telling about the electric cars around. So they feel sense, okay, in 2 years, this is the market going to come around. So they can. So then I'll just skip this one. Then the key challenges we have on the demand planners. Immediate reaction to adjust forecasts. Forecasts are changing every week. Let me be honest with you. Forecasts are prediction. Don't expect the forecast is like a brick wall. They change every time. I know in S&OP we meet for once a month around, but some people feel 2-time meeting I've also seen in a day. So these forecasts are bound to change around. So we need some approach around providing an outlook for the next weeks, months, and keep track of the corona sales effect around. So we have to see what coronavirus has done effect around and how do we correct it. This is the tower concept, which is helping us a lot to get the data from all our stakeholders, and everybody is on the real-time basis. And if we can have artificial intelligence, then the decision can be done much faster. Planning during the times of uncertainty. Today we have certainly uncertainty around internal and external data. So internal data is there, but we need external data through control towers, through control mechanism. Analytical insights are required around and multiple scenarios. So we need to say, if this is the scenario 1, what is to be done? Scenario 2, scenario 3. So the demand planner has to come with many choices around. If you go this way, you will make this much revenue at the top level. So much the bottom line. If you go this way, the top line will change so much and the bottom line will change this much. So for that we need the right software as well. Evaluate the impact. So we need to think of impact and the multiple scenarios together. Scenario 1, scenario 2, scenario 3. As I was setting, if I've got 10,000 SKUs, I've got different choices. Which path to take? And what is the impact of that on both top and bottom line? So the demand planning and forecasting move beyond spreadsheet. I would say not everybody, I would say those whose business is much bigger, whose data is much bigger, and spotlight on collaboration. So we have to do the collaboration. One is inside, I would say outside in also. The model has to change from inside out to outside in. So collaboration is not only inside, we need to collaborate with stakeholders as well. So coming back to this again, I think S&OP, my colleague will be touching later, so I don't want to spend time on this. So we have a lot of risks and new frontiers for supply chain. You can see S&OP has gaps around. And these gaps have to be bridged if you want to be resilient. You want to be shock-proof. So this is, we need to cover up around. So I think one approach, which is the navigating through the crisis, what we have today, size and prioritize the revenues part. So I'll just skip this. Modernize the supply chain is shorter, faster, smarter. Key steps in demand planning, I think my colleagues will cover it. I'll just touch up the last thing around skill part. So demand planning is undergoing large-scale radical change. Artificial intelligence and machine learning are already beginning to make an impact. Some even think, last time also this question came in our session last time, is artificial intelligence going to take my job? No. Artificial intelligence won't replace a manager, but managers who work with AI will replace managers. So that factor one has to keep in mind. AI will not take your job. It is the manager with AI will take up your jobs. So this question comes very oftenly around. Algorithmics, touchless supply chain, 3D printings. And ultimately, I would say the 4 key things are technical skill, business skill, collaboration, and last is communication skill. They have to be smarter than marketing people. You know very well. Marketing people are trained as a communicator. And if you want to be a demand planner, you have to be smarter than them. If you can't communicate effectively, marketing people who have been trained in the colleges, business schools, they will overshoot you. So the communication skill, both in writing and communication, plus collaboration, I think is important around. So collaboration means the leadership skill. Well, friend, with this, I want to thank you all for the patient hearing.